Streaming on clickorlando.com, you're watching News 6 at 10 p.m.
People got to eat, because if people don't eat, they're gonna die.
The prices are going up, but our benefits are going down, and we can already barely survive.
Now on News 6, 1 in 8 Americans rely on them, but SNAP benefits could dry up in just days. The big decision by the White House that would make the government shutdown more painful. Your weekend's off to a little bit of a breezy start as we look at your Launch Credit Union Port Cam. The fall feeling in the air is sticking around and cooler weather is coming. Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas has your forecast, and he's tracking Tropical Storm Melissa, still expected to grow into a monster of a hurricane that will not be our problem. But last night, she was rearrested. Now she's spending the night in a different jail, while the wife of suspended Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez is going to be facing a judge again soon. But we start now at 10 tonight with anger over a hit-and-run crash that took a life.
I would have stopped. No matter if I was under the influence or not, I would have stopped. If you have the right morals, you would have stopped. Any person would have stopped.
She befriended the man who was run down this time last night, while police say it was clear the driver who took off knew they did something wrong. Glad you're with us tonight. I'm Matt Austin. Ginger has the evening off. Tonight, Ocala police say they're looking for the white Chevy that hit the man. He was killed while crossing US 27 with a friend at Blickton Road between Quality Inn and a Marathon gas station. News 6's Troy Campbell spoke with a gas station worker who became friends with the man who was killed.
Across from this Quality Inn is where Ocala police say the victim was walking across US 27 when he was struck. Now, we spoke to people here at this Marathon gas station who say the victim has walked here several times in the past week.
I met them actually last week, Saturday. They're staying at the Quality Inn across the street. I met them last week. I was expecting to see them today.
Jamie Latson says the man killed in Thursday night's hit-and-run crash frequently walked to this gas station.
He was filled with life, honestly. Like, even in the hard situation he was in, he was very nice. He always brought light to it. Just a really good person overall.
Ocala police say the person was crossing US 27 around 11 o'clock Thursday night when a white Chevy hit him while heading eastbound. What was your reaction when you found out that someone had been killed right here crossing the street?
My initial reaction was like who it was. I was distraught, honestly, as well.
A witness told police the driver initially stopped, then sped away. What goes through your mind when you hear that the driver had stopped, saw someone was injured, but then got into their vehicle and left the scene?
Honestly, my initial feeling was just like sick to my stomach, because if I was in that predicament, I would have stopped. No matter if I was under the influence or not, I would have stopped. If you have the right morals, you would have stopped. Any person would have stopped.
Investigators are now trying to track down the white Chevy and find out who was behind the wheel. What is your message to anyone who might know who did this?
They need to give out information, give justice to the family members, honestly, because if anybody knows anything, they need to speak up.
And again, Ocala police are searching for that white Chevy, so anyone with information is asked to call Ocala police or Crime Stoppers of Marion County. In Marion County, I'm your community correspondent, Troy Campbell, News 6.
Another big story tonight is the weather, and for two solid reasons. First, maybe a little breeze out as we look live at downtown Mount Dora. The fall-like weather is sticking around for your weekend. Then it's going to get cooler next week. Meteorologist Jonathan Kegas is here with our cool down and an update on that tropical issue we're looking at right here.
Yeah, so before we get to that cool down, you're going to notice the humidity go back up. So Sunday into Monday, it's going to start to feel a little bit more like summer. And then that front's going to come through, and then it's going to be, I think everyone's going to be running for the winter jacket. I mean, it's going to be that cold, Matt.
Jacket?
Winter jacket. You know Floridians, you know the meme, the 300 where the Cat 5 hurricane's coming and you got the people from 300 and then you got the, I forget the other movie that they're running away. What, do you know the meme I'm talking about?
No, I'm trying to
I'm gonna look it up in the break. There's some, we're afraid of the cold, right? Temperature outlook, October 30th through November 3rd. That big blue area across southeast United States, that is the high confidence of colder than normal temperatures from about October 30th through November 4th. And you see there, by the time we get to the Halloween morning, I think a lot of us wake up in the 50s. Northwest of I-4, we're going to have a shot to wake up in the upper 40s. 60s will still be hanging around the coast, of course, because the warmer Atlantic Ocean will continue to moderate things. Latest on Melissa. It is trying to get its act together. There is still some wind shear beating it up a little bit, but it's getting more organized. You see the pressure now down below 1,000 millibars. The lower the pressure, the stronger the storm. The wind is now up to 65 miles per hour. We're going to take a look at the latest track and talk about how cool it could be for trick-or-treating coming up at about 10:19.
Was it the Princess Bride or something?
Yes,
like
that's what it was.
Okay.
I think that's
All
what it
right.
was.
No, thank you.
Good
It was
call.
bothering me. Thanks, Jonathan. All right, new at 10 tonight, it appears open carry will now be allowed statewide for adults of any age. A Broward County judge struck down a state law barring anyone ages 18 to 21 from carrying a concealed weapon. That judge ruled in favor of a 19-year-old who was arrested after being spotted with a gun in his waistband, saying that arrest violates the Second Amendment. In a 9-page ruling, the judge wrote Florida's prohibition on concealed carry of firearms by 18 to 21-year-olds strips a class of legal adults of their ability to exercise the very right the Constitution guarantees. Open carry has been allowed for anyone 21 and up since another judge struck down a different concealed carry law last month. Deputies have now moved the wife of a suspended sheriff out of Osceola County. The estranged wife of Marcos Lopez will wake up in the same Lake County jail she spent 2 weeks in after her first arrest. We told you last night Robin Severance Lopez is facing a new charge of giving false information on an application for bail. That's on top of the racketeering and other charges filed back in June. Prosecutors say Marcos Lopez used his power as sheriff to protect an illegal gambling operation inside 2 clubs. His wife was granted $400,000 bond in July after proving the money came from legal sources. Her attorney tells us prosecutors have now filed a motion to revoke that bond. We still don't know what specifically she's accused of doing here. We may know more after tomorrow's first appearance in court. Meantime, her husband, that suspended sheriff, may be waiting a little longer to stand trial in his case. Jury selection is scheduled to start next month, but lawyers for Marco Lopez are waiving his right to a speedy trial and are formally asking for a delay. They say they're waiting for some evidence to be turned over. They also say because several co-defendants have recently taken plea deals, there's new material they need to review. His next hearing is scheduled for November 4th. Developing tonight at 10, 4 of the children hurt in last night's top story have left the hospital. An adult and 5 others are spending a second night there now. We had it as breaking news this time last night. Troopers say a 29-year-old driver failed to see the car filled with kids and hit it from behind. The force of the crash sent that car into a tree. Happened last night on Raleigh Street near Campanella Avenue. FHP now says that some of the kids were sitting on each other's laps. 4 of the 9 kids have been discharged. Troopers say charges won't be filed, if there are any, until their investigation is complete. 1 in 8 Americans rely on them to feed their families, but new at 10 tonight, President Donald Trump is refusing to use contingency funds to keep SNAP food benefits funded if the government shutdown drags on past November 1st. That could hurt a lot of families here in Central Florida. The Food and Resource Action Center says there are more than 77,000 SNAP households in Orange County. It impacts 22% of all homes in Osceola County. News 6's Jarrell Baker spoke with some of those who will be impacted.
Rena Patterson says that she applied for SNAP benefits last month to feed her family, but due to the government shutdown, her application is in limbo.
I do see I have Medicaid for me and my children, but as far as like the food assistance goes, I haven't heard anything. And I don't even have an access card yet because I'm transferring from out of state.
If the shutdown continues, she said that she'll still be in trouble even if it's approved because SNAP payments scheduled for November 1st may be delayed until the government reopens. For Patterson, who pays $2,500 for rent, works full-time, and has 3 children to feed, not getting the help will be devastating.
The prices are going up, but our benefits are going down, and we can already barely survive.
Patterson is now considering getting a second job. She's also relying on United Against Poverty and other local food banks to help. But the shutdown impacts their efforts too, including their workforce and food voucher programs.
We have $300,000 that is currently, it's not accessible. And these are important seed funding into programs like this one.
Patricia Lewis, who's used SNAP benefits for years, remains hopeful that the shutdown will end soon.
People got to eat, because if people don't eat, they're gonna die. And they don't wanna die, they're gonna be breaking in, stealing, taking, and the world gonna really be in corruption.
The SNAP warning was posted to the Florida Department of Children and Families website. Several state legislators sent a letter to the U.S. Department of Agriculture asking to use the SNAP's contingency reserve to help out. Multiple media outlets report that the USDA has already decided that it will not tap into that fund. In Orange County, Jarrell Baker, News 6.
Jarrell, thank you. If SNAP benefits aren't given out in November, that's going to put a strain on tens of thousands of Central Florida families. There's already concern about the resources out there to help those in need. We asked Second Harvest about what could happen if their services or funding deal isn't reached. Now, the food bank works with nearly 900 feeding partners across Central Florida right now. They're distributing enough food for 300,000 meals per day. They say if SNAP isn't funded next month, they'll face much higher demand, but experts say food banks alone are not enough to fill the void.
For every meal that these wonderful food banks and food pantries give, SNAP provides 9. And I think it's also important to note that our food is more expensive than it was last year, right? The latest labor statistic was 2.7. You know, a piece of bread costs a lot more. Everything costs a lot more. So the money is not going as far as it should. So even with food pantries, there's limit as to how much they can give.
If you or someone you know needs to find a food bank, we put a link to resources across Central Florida. Just look for this article on clickorlando.com. One local man is giving his time and talents to ease the financial pain for one group of Central Floridians.
They have to make a choice, right? They either eat or change the oil and get breaks.
How he's fixing it forward for people who could lose their jobs if the car breaks down, and what you can do to help.
But this is so fun. There's no problem here.
She loves them, but next at 11, see the skeletons some neighbors are calling more spicy than spooky. Is this display too much for the kids? You're watching News 6 at 10. We are live on a Friday night. We're covering Fruitland Park, Heathrow, and all of Central Florida. Now on News 6, is it too spooky or is it too spicy? Halloween decorations have neighbors taking sides in Mineola, some debating just how far is too far. A concerned viewer reached out to News 6 saying there's a skeleton strip club set up right on a front porch and it's in plain sight of kids walking to school. News 6's Alex Cook went to check it out.
It all started with a tip to the newsroom from a neighbor who wanted to remain anonymous, saying there's a skeleton strip club right here on this very porch. She said it's not your typical spooky decor. This one's got skeletons in suggestive poses, a pole, and it's all out in the open where kids walk to school. So of course, we had to come see it for ourselves. Now I'm here to figure out what this means for this family-focused community and where the line gets drawn between Halloween fun and what's appropriate in neighborhoods like this.
Gabriella, who lives right across the street, says she sees it as all in good fun.
Woohoo! Na, 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 na. Woohoo! No problem. I can sit here. Let's have something fun. Woohoo!
She says her 2 kids love it too.
I have 2 kids and they like to see the skeleton. They are dancing. No problem for us.
But not everyone in the neighborhood agrees. In addition to the anonymous tip, we found heated debates on the neighborhood's social media page. One poster said, "I don't see stripping as art. Whether it's skeletons or cartoons, I wouldn't want my kids exposed to sexual innuendos." Another responded, "If you want to see it as sexual, that's your take. Does it show the skeleton removing clothes? How do you know if it's a female or male skeleton?" Another neighbor said, "We live here too. This is very inappropriate." One resident even contacted the Homeowners Association, which replied, "Unfortunately, the HOA cannot do anything about this. Halloween decorations are allowed, and residents can put up whatever holiday decorations they prefer." The HOA advised that the offended neighbor should wait until Halloween is over next weekend, when the display will come down. Meanwhile, Gabriella says she's more worried about the scary, gory displays than this one.
I'm afraid when they put a lot of some scare things with no head, something like that, but this is so fun. There's no problem here.
Whether they're for or against it, neighbors in this neighborhood can expect to keep seeing this display until after Halloween. In Mineola, Alex Cook, News 6.
So a viewer told us about the Halloween decoration. Do you have something you want us to cover? Go to News 6 app or clickorlando.com. Click Contact Us. Let us know how we can help. In Brevard County, after 63 years, cats and dogs up for adoption will be housed in a brand new building this morning. The Brevard Humane Society broke ground on its 2-story, 8,000 square foot shelter to replace the current smaller shelter on Cox Road in Cocoa. The shelter's executive director thanked all those who donated to the project.
I'm overwhelmed. It's just awesome to have so many people who cared. They gave $5 and they gave $50,000, and it's just amazing what our community together can do if we work together. And they did it because they wanted to, out of the love of their hearts, and we're really grateful for that.
She says the new building could open up by next summer. We rely on our cars for just about everything these days, and for people living paycheck to paycheck, a costly repair can really be a disaster. News 6's Paul Giorgio introduces us to a mechanic in Volusia County who decided to help those who can least afford an unexpected breakdown.
It was like a parking lot pit road at the West Volusia Dream Center. But as you can see, this wasn't NASCAR's finest.
I just can't have you in the car while I'm lifting.
Ed Rosa is the crew chief. He and his team from the nonprofit Fix It Forward were doing light mechanical work and basic maintenance on cars at the Homeless Outreach Center. Zamara Salter's Chrysler Sebring drew a caution flag.
I bought it at a pawn shop, and it's had a multitude of problems.
She lives in her car. She's been jumping the car ever since. Her battery went bad a couple of weeks ago, so every time she needs to drive, he needs to jump it.
It's only 10 o'clock. I already jumped it 3 times this morning.
But she found a reason to smile. She's getting a new battery along with her brakes checked and an oil change.
Make sure the hoses are good.
Rosa started the nonprofit a few years ago. He can't keep up with the need from qualified applicants.
There are so many homeless people living in their cars in Central Florida. It's unbelievable. And they're driving unsafe. They're driving on tires that are unsafe. They're driving cars with no brakes because they cannot afford just basic maintenance on their cars.
After a short pit stop, Salter will be back out, safe.
Well, they're fantastic.
And in pole position.
And I'm so glad that we're able to help them out. At least give them a little bit of hope. Let them know that, hey, you're not discarded in society. There's people out there that are looking after you, that are willing to help you.
In Orange City, Paul Giorgio, News 6.
Rosa fixed about a dozen cars on that day. He volunteers his time, but relies on donations to pay for parts. If you'd like to help, look for a link of Fix It Forward inside the story on clickorlando.com. Time now to check in with our meteorologist, Jonathan Kagas, for a look at those temperatures, which are only, if you like it a little cooler, they're only getting better.
That's the thing. It's do you like it cool? Do you like it on the warmer side? If you like it cool, then you are going to love the 7-day forecast as we get into Halloween and into the first couple of days in November. Right now, it's nice and comfortable outside. We're at 70 in Oviedo, 77 in Melbourne. You can stay up to date with the forecast. If you want to track Melissa through the weekend, download that free News 6 weather app. The Hurricane Tracker app is built right in. All the models and the official forecast from the Hurricane Center, it's all combined in one. Leesburg, we are at 69 degrees. Wildwood, we are at 66. And we're going to cool down much, much more than that once we get into the upcoming weekend or next weekend, not this one we're getting into. Port Canaveral, Brevard County, a little breezy out there. Live look with our Launch Credit Union camera tonight. Air temperatures back into the mid-70s. We are mainly clear at this hour. This weekend, we're going to try to warm things up, at least subtly bring back some humidity. We have this storm system developing out in Texas. This red thing here, that is a warm front, and that's eventually going to lift back up towards the deep south. It's going to help to induce and bring in some extra humidity. Really, you'll feel it by Sunday and then into the early part of next work week. Behind that system, that's when things start to cool down. Nice and comfortable tomorrow, although a notch or two warmer than what we woke up to this morning, maybe a few notches for some of us. We're back to the upper 60s in Orlando, upper 50s in Ocala, and in Denellen, lower to mid-70s right along the coast. Tomorrow, we're back in the low to mid-80s. Again, just a touch more humidity. Still going to be a comfortably warm afternoon. Humidity starts to go up a little bit more so as we get into Sunday. Here's going to be likely major Hurricane Melissa by this time on Tuesday, but it's the front that protects Florida, and it's that front that brings in the much cooler air, no doubt the coolest air of the season, and potentially the coolest Halloween we have felt since back in 2012. There you go on Thursday, October 30th. That cooler air continues to rush back in as we move into Halloween. In terms of that trick-or-treat forecast, this is an early look, so the numbers may move a little bit, but what looks to be the case is Halloween about 10 to maybe 15 degrees below where we should be for this time of the year. By 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we're in the lower 70s. Of course, trick-or-treat time, we're talking low to mid-60s. Some of us north of Orlando, by 8, 9 o'clock, we're talking upper 50s. So certainly a significant chill coming in our direction. What is not coming in our direction is Melissa. Continues to organize tonight, 993 millibars. That pressure's down. It's the lowest it's been. Still battling some wind shear, but it is showing signs of organization. Rapid intensification likely this weekend with a track that likely goes over Cuba as a 104, over Jamaica, I should say, then eventually Cuba as a 140 mile per hour category 4 storm. So thinking of our friends in the Caribbean over the weekend and early next work week. There is our front. We're fast forward into Thursday after a few rain chances. 75 on Thursday, Matt. Lower 70s on Halloween.
Ooh, all right. I like it. The opposite of scary. Well, by now, most people who live nearby have heard Costco is coming to Sanford. It's all the talk online. But it's just the start. Next at 10, the big, bold plan to remake Seminole Town Center. We have a few hints at what will open up at a future location for the closed mall. That's coming up.
The Seminole Town Center used to be the heart of retail in Seminole County, but 3 decades after it first opened in Sanford, it's searching for relevance. And its revitalization starts here. What used to be the old Macy's will turn into one of the biggest Costco's in Central Florida.
Literally, it's step one in about 30 steps.
Sanford's Director of Economic Development says it's one of the biggest projects in Seminole County history.
We're going to start hearing about a number of retailers, restaurants.
He shared updates with us, announced by the Ardent companies this week. Are a lot of those deals still being worked out?
I can share with you this. There are a number of those deals that have been inked and are penned and are very exciting. I'll leave it to the ownership to start announcing those.
The group bought the mall back in March. Costco came into the picture shortly after. And now we're learning the redevelopment plans will also include a nearby apartment building with 300 units. The city expects work to happen in phases, starting at the southern end where the superstore will be.
The only challenge out here is some of the elevation changes. If you look at this mall, you'll see there's some hills here and where they've moved dirt in the past. So we've got to do some grade changes that'll make that process much faster.
Questions we get aren't just what is coming here, but when can I start shopping? What do you think about timelines?
When the community's really going to start seeing progress is here in a few months.
So you can expect demolition to start this year and expect more construction after that as more retailers are announced. The city tells me by the time all is said and done, this property will go from a valuation of $50 million to upwards of $700 million. But developments this big take time. In Seminole County, I'm Catherine Silver, News 6.
You can find all of tonight's stories plus breaking news on News 6 Plus. It's free to download to your smart TV or streaming device. We hope you have a great Friday night.